A24, as a friend from Screenfish put it, is on the pulse of what film critics and audiences are interested in. They are bringing films from directors who have unique and original stories to tell. They have now often become the kind of films that are destined for Oscar success. When you hear that A24 has picked up an acclaimed film from a festival like Venice, TIFF, or Cannes, you expect to see it called on Oscar nominee morning. This list will only grow, and so today I thought I'd take a second and rank every single film A24 has distributed in the US and which has garnered an Oscar nomination. Causeway, while originally probably made as an awards vehicle for Jennifer Lawrence, ended up getting an Oscar nomination for Brian Tyree Henry, and it was really deserved. He delivers a layered and tragic performance. You only really wish it was in a better film. It's one that probably won't be remembered, but does stand up to symbolize that A24 really has never had a bad Oscar nominee as of yet. Ben Whishaw in Women Talking is a good performance from this year that I felt was overlooked. Maybe could have taken Brian Tyree Henry's spot, but still very good. In the year 2022, Close stands out as a film that probably could have been left off Best International Feature, its one Oscar nomination. Films like Decision to Leave and even Bardo, in my opinion, would have been a better choice. Still, it's a well-made, touching film, but one that felt like it tried to tackle two themes and couldn't really make either significant. The Disaster Artist is a film I really enjoyed when I first watched, but over time I've mostly forgotten everything significant in the film. The script was the best part, so it makes more sense that that was nominated rather than anything else. It was a weak year for adapted screenplays. The original ones were much stronger, but also here are a few that would have been better. 20th Century Women is an interesting, well-drawn-out film. Mike Mills, as a writer, is always lovely and covers complex subjects with heart and tenderness. It makes a lot of sense that this got Best Original Screenplay. However, there's a lot others that I probably would have put instead. Here they are on the screen. The acting's very good. Annette Bening would have been a worthy nominee for this year. Nice film. Sing Sing, with 3 Oscar nominations, was a film that very much deserved those. It probably should have got one more for Clarence Macklin. Coleman was definitely one of the best lead performances in this year. I can't think of anyone else who deserved this nomination more. It got original song in a category that's pretty weak. I'll say it deserved the nomination. The screenplay, while solid, I honestly would replace with Dune 2 or The Kitchen, but it's not the weakest nomination in its category. The experience of being at the world premiere of this film was special, though. Past Lives is the first Best Picture nominee on this list, and it's probably lower on the list than a lot of other people would put it. It's a film that has really good emotional beats and style. The actor's work was undervalued. Greta Lee probably should have gotten a nomination. It was a very deserving Best Original Screenplay nomination. I probably would have nominated either Asteroid City, Boy and the Heron, Dream Scenario, Bottoms, Perfect Day. Okay, I went on too much. It's certainly better than Maestro in Best Original Screenplay. This is also a film far away from one of my top 10 of 2023. Here's my personal 10 that I think would get Best Picture. This film was also far away from one of my top 10 films of 2023. Here's the personal 10 films I would nominate for Best Picture. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, with its one nomination for Best Animated Feature, is undeniably cute and charming and well thought out. A very solid category here. It's deserving of its nomination. Wendell and Wild might have been welcomed over The Sea Beast, but I think Marcel the Shell is the 4th best from this year. People might hate on that, but it has some staying power, and considering all the hype it had when it came out, it deserved some of it. The Whale is the first Oscar winner on this list, and one that also lost me $5 because I bet on Austin Butler after he won the BAFTA. So thanks, Brendan Fraser. You deserve this win, though. I maybe would have personally given it to Paul Mescal or Colin Farrell, but Brendan Fraser is undeniably worthy of this win. I personally would have given it to Paul Mescal or Colin Farrell, but Brendan Fraser is undeniably worthy of this win. The makeup work is extensive. The makeup work is extensive and also deserved the win. The screenplay missing was honestly a bit bizarre. When people expected it to compete for the win, it probably would have deserved it. Hong Chow was also wickedly good in this film, another very worthy nominee who, in my opinion, should have been competitive over Jamie Lee Curtis for sure. Good movie, one I honestly do feel compelled to rewatch. Certainly a lot more than the films before this. Ex Machina was the winner of Best Visual Effects, the only A24 film to pull off this feat. A huge upset when you consider it went up against films like Mad Max Fury Road, Star Wars, The Martian. They all feel like something the Academy would have picked for their scale. I honestly agree. The Academy made a good pick here because the work to make Alicia Vikander look like a robot is seamless. The visual effects are never something you think about in this sci-fi film. Original screenplay was its other nomination, a very worthy one. There's some really strong original screenplays from this year I can think of that might have deserved this nomination over it. However, I probably would have picked it before Bridge of Spies, Spotlight, or Straight Outta Compton, so it definitely deserved its Oscar nomination. My winner for this award probably would have been either Inside Out or Mistress America. A Different Man was nominated for just makeup and hairstyling, and while the makeup in the first part of the film is very good, that is also the weakest part of the film. The film only gets better when the makeup begins to fall off Sebastian Stan, and then Adam Pearson comes in and is absolutely brilliant. The screenplay has a lot of interesting meta, kind of social commentary to say about insecurity and self-worth. Every choice that characters make is really interesting, and while not all of them make absolute sense to me, this was an absolutely great film. Best Supporting Actor. I like Kieran Culkin, but I thought Guy Pearce would sweep this award after seeing the amount of drama and asshole he brings to this role. He's Australian. Like, come on. He'd be my personal pick as well. Here's some of the other great performances from the year. For Best Supporting Actress, out of the nominees, I would pick Felicity Jones. There's a lot of other underrated performances I'll put on the screen. Felicity Jones probably would have got my vote, though. Here's the nominations I'm happy with. Best Actor, I'd vote for Coleman first, but Brody deserved the nomination for sure. Best Original Screenplay, I'd vote for other films first, but it's worthy of the nomination. Best Director, I'd vote for Ramel Ross or Corley Fajot personally. In Best Cinematography and Production Design, I'd be going with Dune 2 or Wicked before it. This would be a solid Best Picture winner, but it's certainly not my first pick. For Best Picture, among the nominees, I'd pick Nickel Boys, The Substance, Dune 2, or Anora to win first. And of course, I'd vote for Challengers. That was my favorite movie. The Lobster was only nominated for Original Screenplay in what was a very competitive year. I'd say it was the third strongest in its category because I love Manchester by the Sea and La La Land. I probably also would have nominated Patterson and The Salesman before this in my personal nominees, but it's very worthy of this nomination and probably should have gotten more Oscar nominations for picture, actor, maybe supporting actress. With 4 nominations, Room stands out as A24's first above-the-line win in the Oscars, as Brie Larson took Best Actress. The film was also nominated for Picture, Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. This film, like basically every other film in adapted screenplay, deserved it more than The Big Short, which won. Room would be among my personal nominees, but I'd rank a couple other films above it. The Best Director nomination wouldn't be in my personal nominees. However, it's the third best nomination in the category. The Best Picture nomination was deserved. However, it would barely miss my top personal... The Best Picture nomination was deserved. However, it would barely miss my top 10 films. It is certainly better than a lot of the Best Picture nominees. I would rank it third among them. Lastly, Brie Larson was the best actress performance of that year. She deserved it. She was the best among the Oscar nominees and the best female lead of anything I saw that year. The Lighthouse is an amazing film. That's why it's in my top 10. One that only grew on me while I rewatched it. Snubs. Robert Pattinson. Best Picture. The score. Most egregious of all, though, Willem Dafoe did not get a nomination when he really should have won this category for Best Actor or Supporting Actor. The cinematography, luckily, was recognized, thank God. It deserved to win that category, honestly, among the nominees. 1917 is very impressive. There's a lot of talented work there. But the atmosphere and the cinematography adds so much to The Lighthouse. It's very worthy. There were many other great films that could have got this. I think I would probably pick, among my personal films, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, because they're so different, though. I don't know. I call it a tie. The Florida Project is another film that came really close to a Best Picture nomination, but only ended up with a nomination for Willem Dafoe, which was well deserved. He probably should have won. Another film that came close to a Best Picture nomination, but only ended up with a nomination for Willem Dafoe, which was well deserved, and he probably should have won. Sam Rockwell is also very good in this film, but Willem was really well cast in this role. I'd rank his performance second among the ones I saw. I'd rank his performance second amongst the films I saw. Barry Keoghan, with his breakout in Killing the Sacred Deer, is my favorite. He's amazing. Florida Project probably should have got a lot more nominations, including Best Picture, Best Actress, and Original Screenplay. The world was shocked when A24 managed to upset the tie for most nominations ever in La La Land, and Moonlight won Best Picture. The film received a strong 8 nominations. The Oscars I would have it win include Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor, both of which it did win. It is also the second best score and supporting actress performance of that year. The former I'd give to La La Land, and the latter I'd give to Michelle Williams for Manchester by the Sea. The cinematography was a worthy nomination, only outpaced by La La Land, Silence, and Nocturnal Animals in my personal rankings, making it the third best at the Oscars. Barry Jenkins as a Best Director nomination was very well deserved. He's the fourth best in my personal rankings, only beaten by La La Land, Arrival, and Patterson, making it the third best at this year's Oscars. The editing is honestly harder to quantify. I would nominate it, but not before Manchester by the Sea, La La Land, Arrival, or The Handmaiden. But in the category, again, it was probably the third best, behind Arrival and La La Land. For Best Picture, it was my 5th favorite film from that year, and that also only makes it my 4th favorite Best Picture nominee. But as you can see from how high I put it in this list, it was a really great film. That year was very top-heavy. It's an amazing, essential film. The Zone of Interest was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, and it should have been nominated for more. It did manage to win 2 Oscars, including Best International Feature and Best Sound, both of which would also be my personal picks. However, I want to shout out that Best Sound, Oppenheimer and The Killer would have been deserving of wins as well. Anatomy of Fall was the film that should have rivaled The Zone of Interest in Best International Feature, but France is stupid. This is my favorite film of 2023, so I certainly believe it should have won Best Director, Best Picture. However, adapted screenplay I would personally give to something like Oppenheimer, Barbie, or Poor Things. I think the film is a lot more focused and was designed from a directorial standpoint. The script's only 76 pages long. If you gave it to anyone else, the film would not nearly be the same as what we got. Also, it should have been nominated for score. I mean, have you heard anything like it? A masterful film. On a future rewatch, Lady Bird may end up lower on my list, but I saw this at the perfect time in my senior year of high school. It really connected to me. The 2 leads with Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf are amazing. I think they give the best performances of their career. They're also the best in their category. Both deserve to win Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress, respectively. I'll acknowledge Saoirse Ronan had a lot of tough competition. Margot Robbie, Frances McDormand, and Sally Hawkins. And when your weakest nominee in your category is Meryl Streep, you know it was stacked. Plus, there's a bunch of other great performances I'll put on the screen. Greta Gerwig is honestly my favorite director in the category, doing what no one else did and bringing out some of the most human and fleshed out performances from young actors that I haven't really seen replicated. All these actors probably do their best work, besides maybe Timothy. The screenplay was also the best of the year, though I think 3 Billboards and Get Out would win in many other years. She would only be my number 4 favorite for Best Directors that year because you got Yorgos Lanthimos, the Safdie brothers releasing near masterpieces. She would probably only be my number 3 for my favorite directors that year because Yorgos Lanthimos and the Safdie brothers released near masterpieces. But Best Director would be a valid win. Minari, winner of 1 Academy Award. Minari was a touching Sundance film that went through the pandemic and managed to grab 6 nominations, most of which it should have won. Yo Jung-yoon, certainly the best in her category. Definitely deserved that win. Shout out to Toni Collette, and I'm Thinking of Ending Things. The score is also, in my personal opinion, deserved to be the winner in this category. As much as I love Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, Emile Masuri deserved it and was one One of the tracks even showed up on TikTok and Reels, which is the signal that this film has cultural significance. The score would be my personal favorite, but Kajillionaire, also from Emile Mossetti, was great, and the score by Jade Wiley for I'm Thinking of Ending would be my runner-ups. It also should have won Best Original Screenplay and is my number one in my personal rankings. The film, being my second favorite of 2020, should have won Best Picture among the nominees, coming behind I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Same goes for Best Director. I'd only give it to Charlie Kaufman before Lee Isaac Chung. I love his work here. Best Actor is the only award where I'd say the Academy got it right to give it to someone else. I was originally adamant that Anthony Hopkins was only the third best actor in the category behind Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey and Riz Ahmed in Sound of Metal. All three performances are great and have stuck with me, but my personal taste led me to say the Oscars should have gone to Riz Ahmed instead of Anthony Hopkins. Some people saying that Anthony Hopkins was better in The Father than in Silence of the Lambs was insane to me, and I think still is. First Reformed, one of two films in my top three, only nominated for one Oscar. It absolutely floored me when I saw it, and then I discovered that Paul Schrader writes Facebook reviews. Those also floored me. This film tricked me into thinking that almost anything he makes is great. And then I watched Master Gardener. First Reformed itself should have definitely won Best Original Screenplay, though. I love The Favorite. It was snubbed for a lot of nominations. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actress, Best Cinematography, but most egregiously, it was snubbed for Best Actor, an award Ethan Hawke should have easily won this year, considering he had competition of Rami Malek and then Christian Bale in Vice. Come on, guys, what are we doing here? Now, for the most nominated A24 movie ever, and the second to win Best Picture, whether you like it or not, was a defining film for a lot of young cinephiles. This was the film that most first-year people in my film class said was their favorite. It makes sense it won Best Picture. Most will probably see that as a logical decision in the future. I mean, it was cool to see a sci-fi, low-budget, comedy, action film win Best Picture. It was also the best of the nominees, but I would put After Sun in my personal rankings as the best film of 2022. That could change over time, but I would give it to After Sun right now. However, I'd say the screenplay is clearly the best of the year. Ke Huy Quan's performance definitely deserved Best Supporting Actor. Here's some other great ones. The editing deserved to win, even though I would consider After Sun, Tar, and RRR is very good. Michelle Yeoh, I love her, but she was only the second best in my personal rankings and at the Oscars because I believe Cate Blanchett is just unbelievable in Tar. I'll address the last win at the end. The score, honestly, nothing special. It wouldn't be in my personal nominations. Babylon was robbed. Among the nominees, I'd say it's honestly last. All Quiet deserved the win more than Everything Everywhere would. Among the nominees, Everything Everywhere is honestly the worst score. All Quiet's even better. That might be controversial. Best Supporting Actress, however, was a complete sham. Did the film deserve to win the award? Yes, but it absolutely went to the wrong person. Steffi Sue was literally the antagonist and heart of the film, pulling off both roles brilliantly. How the Academy ever watched the film and said, yes, Jamie Lee Curtis is the Best Supporting Actress performance of the year is baffling. Jamie Lee Curtis would not be in my personal nominees. I do all these other people first. So that makes Jamie Lee Curtis literally the worst performance in this category. Not that any of them are clearly the best and would win in many years. They probably would not. But the fact that she won is just insane. In some ways, it's disappointing to see that my favorite A24 Oscar nominee only got one nomination. Paul Mescal is amazing in After Sun. It's a very hard performance to compare to Brendan Fraser. Ultimately, I'd probably give it to Brendan Fraser. He is the reason the film works. And Paul Mescal just did amazing with his work. And he's doing really well still. This film deserved Best Picture, Best Director, for sure. Nominations for screenplay, editing, score, and honestly cinematography would have been very deserving. I cannot wait for Charlotte Wells' next film, though it must be impossible to live up to the praise people rightfully put on this film. Certainly not the most successful A24 film at the Oscars, but it is my favorite.